Zillow Academy. And again, I have our guests, Eric and Janelle Boyenga. They are one of the top producing real estate teams, not only in the San Francisco Bay Area, but I'm going to safely say one of the top producing teams in the country. And so first off, I'm going to point out that you folks have a great website. If you want to check them out, you can go to boyenga.com. I also want to inform you that the Boyenga team is now, and I'm proud to say, part of our agent advisory board at Zillow, meaning they're going to be doing what? What does that mean, Eric?
Well, it means that I'm actually able to give some feedback to Zillow of, how your tools and technology are helping us agents, and they're actually listening to the feedback and improving their not only consumer experience, but the agent experience, which is kind of key to us in order to make Zillow better, not just for the consumer, but for us agents. So I really have been ecstatic about being chosen, and it's been amazing. I got to go to Zillow to your corporate headquarters about a month ago and meet the whole staff, and it was an amazing experience. And what you guys are doing, there's no wonder you're on top in the real estate industry.
So you got to see that we're not just some server that's sitting in some guy's garage up in Seattle, and there's a couple of nodes sitting there with hamsters and a wheel cranking out zestimates, right?
Absolutely. I got to see. I mean, I was there for the whole day, and still only, I would say, got a glimpse of what you guys are doing. That's how amazing all your employees are, and Spencer gave some time to us to really listen to what our needs as agents are, and to really get to know actually all the executive committee. So it was wonderful.
Well, we're excited to have you guys as part of the team, both you and of course Janelle. So I want to dive right in because I know you folks have a presence on multiple sites. I've pulled up your Facebook. I've got you on LinkedIn. I've pulled up your Twitter. I've got you on Google+. I've Googled your name. I was just showing the article of you being part of our agent advisory board. But this is what I want to talk about. You have a profile on Zillow. You folks have over 41 reviews. You have 10 listings in the hopper. You took a listing not 10 minutes before calling into this webinar. Where do we start? I mean, first of all, obviously you're a team, and as a team, is it just you and Janelle, or do you actually have other people that have helped or be a part of your team that made you guys so successful?
So what's critical about having a team is knowing each member's strengths and weaknesses and being able to have systems in place. So we've always been a good team, but we really started rising to the top and being very different from everyone else when we had an executive coach that helped us put systems in place. And so all of our team members can be productive, and we don't micromanage, and we really know where our strengths and weaknesses lie. And so Eric, when the phone didn't ring in the past, I just said the phone's not ringing. In Eric's marketing background, all of a sudden I get too many phone calls and overwhelmed with phone calls. So that's, his strength is that he has a business marketing background, and I have a sales and communication background. And then whatever we don't have, we find people on our team to help us. And we have two assistants in here in the office, pretty much chained to the desk. And they love their job, and we pay them well, and they're excited, and we're all excited, and we have a balance as well of not working 24/7. So kind of unusual for a realtor. Make sure that we take time out so we're fresh every day, and our team is fresh. Eric has someone that works with him, under him. He can talk about what he does on his marketing end. But that, he's the driver, has a lot of really wonderful ideas that our whole team implements.
So it's the two of you with two assistants.
And then we have 2 buyer's agents who work on our team as well, one who speaks Mandarin and Cantonese, and one we've worked with over the last, we've known her for 15 years, but she's been on our team for the last 5 years and has been instrumental in freeing up a lot of our time. And without both of the buyer's agents, I don't think we would be able to do what we do. And not only that, be able to have time for our daughter and time to do the things we enjoy on our leisure. So it really was instrumental to find the right buyer's agents, ones that we can really trust, who understand us, and who work like us. And I think that was the toughest challenge, actually. And same with the assistants. It took us a long time to get the team in place, but once it's in place, it kind of runs itself in a way. We do have to manage it, but it's a lot less management than you'd believe if you do all the right things in the first place, which is find the right people. And we really have wonderful people underneath us, and so
sure.
we're fortunate.
I think, Brad, Eric hit on a really critical point of our ability to grow in terms of volume, as having agents that are there that work like us. And so when we get into talking about internet buyers, sellers, and the response time, you don't have a lot of response time. And so having the right people that work the way we work is key to turning these leads into something really amazing and clients for life.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, and you just hit on something that is really key, and I know you know this, but for our listeners that are online now or even listening to this recording, response time. Oh my gosh, that, Zillow obviously, and a lot of the different companies out there, but Zillow specifically a year or two ago focused on mobile, realizing that the home sits there and never moves, but the agent is always moving. You're always moving, the consumer is always moving, and they saw the mobile device, or the cell phone as it were, as a tool, a conduit to connect you with the consumer. We're going to talk about that. But what I hear you saying, and this is consistent across the country of top agents like yourselves that I've had the pleasure, I should say the privilege of interviewing, is you hit plateaus, and if it's all about people. You have to have the right people and a team. Otherwise, you will hit a plateau in your productivity in this business where you just can't do any more by yourself. And it comes to a point where putting the right people in place, which you've clearly explained, is number one, the key. And then number two, it's having that team of the right people in place that allows you to do more effectively and more efficiently. Let's talk about real quickly a lead. I really don't like that word lead, because that would be like calling you interviewees. I mean, I consider you folks friends. I consider you human beings, your people. So I like to call them contacts, because a lead is, 2 wires or something you put on a crime scene where there's yellow tape around the house. That's a lead on a. To me, how many contacts are you folks actually getting? Let's just say we're from Zillow for a starting point. How many contacts are you getting on a monthly basis?
Wow. How many we're getting from Zillow alone?
Just for Zillow.
Looked at it, I would say we get roughly between 5 and 10 inquiries a day from Zillow.
And how many of those are you able to actually convert into appointments where you're actually meeting with them face-to-face and toe-to-toe, and then you, just making them an appointment, not forget the closing or getting a deal.
Yeah.
How many can you actually convert to an appointment?
I would say we've been on the top end of that, which is between 10 and 20%.
Wow.
And what we've found, though, is, and that is also scrubbing out a few right off the bat that just don't even fit in our what I would call bogus. And it doesn't matter what system's in place. There's always going to be a few bogus ones in there.
Sure.
But once you've gone through those, the really, I'd say, valid contacts, there would be, we've had some very good, and it's because we follow up so well. And I think that's why we've been so good at converting those contacts into either buyers or sellers. And Zillow does the scrubbing for us, which is excellent, meaning they already come in there. You already know they're looking. You know what they're looking for. So we don't come in there with this kind of what you'd call a cold contact. It's a warm contact. They've seen us. They looked at us. That's why they chose us. So they really kind of have an expectation that we're going to follow up pretty quickly, and so we do. And we found that what Janelle was saying earlier is really one of the critical components, but also when you follow up, anything we can know about them before we follow up, we try to. So I always try to Google the name if it is a name that might be, if we can find out more about them before we even call them, it helps. And a lot of times, they let you know what they're looking for, a house, or they're thinking about getting a valuation on their property. Whatever the case may be, you can infer certain things from that. And then from there, we have all the kind of information at least to start the dialogue.
And also, if the contact isn't a good fit for us, because we have enough information, we're able to know and immediately refer them to someone that would be a better fit.
I love it. I love it. That is a key point that you don't get to hear often enough, and that's that most people, it's almost like taking a listing at any price the seller wants just to take the listing. I know you folks don't do that, but I know this, and you know that there's people out there that do. Let's talk about that response time. So I'm a consumer. I'm on Zillow. I'm looking at 1227 Rodney Drive in San Jose, California. I find it on the website. I click on the property. It shows it's a house for sale. I get excited. I click on this contact agent button. What is your response time, whether it's a phone call or a lead that comes through or a contact through Zillow? What is your turnaround or response time?
Well, unless we're on the toilet, we get on. And then, really what we do is one of us is always handling it at all times. So a lot of times the minute that comes in, whoever takes it actually puts a little alert on our email. So our exchange, our Outlook exchange, everybody knows that someone's already handled that. And if we don't see an alert quickly, I'll be the one putting the alert on, or Janelle, or Paula, or Miranda. And if we're out of the area, or let's say out of pocket, then we have Danielle or Adeline, who are on our team, handle it when we're unable to. Or let's say we're doing something for a Halloween party for Lindsay, we hand it to one of our associates. So, but we try to do it within the first few minutes. And sometimes it's shocking that the consumer is shocked how fast we get back to them because they press, and sometimes we're there before they finish the press. The button's pressed and the phone rings.
And they get really excited. Oh, wow, that was quick. Thank you. And they're expecting us to call, but not that quickly, and they love that.
I think what's important is one of the things I find is really, and I don't mean to cut you off, Janelle, I'm sorry, is like right now I'm looking at the picture of the house. A lot of times I'm not looking at the picture of the house. This is actually what I'm seeing when I'm sitting in my car parked in front of the house. And I think it's important that people understand the tools. It's still a people business, but the tools have changed. If I am sitting in your neighborhood, in your community, and I'm looking at 1227 Rodney from my passenger side window, and I'm parked at the curb, you're doing what you have to do. I think this is the first step, folks, in contact conversion, and tips that you're giving today is you're able to respond as soon as they click that button or they press call. You're actually answering the phone. And Eric, I happen to know you. I think you take the phone to the toilet with you, but that's another story. We can interview that later. My point is that you're making conversion tips here, and the biggest conversion tip I've heard you say today is that two things you've said, really powerful, and I hope people are writing these two things down. Number one, your response time is not crucial. It's critical. The second thing you've said, and I want to touch on this now, follow-up. You can't just take a call and say, okay, thanks for calling. Yeah, what do you want? Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, bye-bye. And that's it. It's over. What is your follow-up? How do you follow up? What do you guys do? Do you put them in your Outlook and then throw a drip campaign, a mail what is follow-up, and how many times does it take before you're actually seeing success from these follow-up, whatever that follow-up plan is?
And that's a great question. I mean, I think, you know, each one of these contacts it will be treated differently, and you know, you do have to classify them on, you know, a kind of a priority system of you know, how, you know, ready. Some of these people are just getting their feet wet. We're trying to get a meeting with them to kind of get them in the office and get them started. Others will even tell you, well, I'm just browsing. I don't really want to meet with you, but we'll still put them on. We use Agent Achieve, which is a kind of a pretty well-known CRM program, and we'll put them on a toolkit that will send them actually properties within a certain criteria to them, and it also interacts. So if there's something they like, they can click on it, and it automatically lets us know if they're looking. Even if they don't click on it, we can see, okay, these people have been looking a lot lately. So it really alerts us to their motivations. So we try to get them into the CRM as soon as possible, especially ones we know are going to be good leads. Some of the hot leads, excuse me, contacts, we'll call that.
Yeah, no, they're leads. For I get that. So it's a language that's been carried over into the real estate industry. So it's accepted and understood. But I know how you treat your clients, and so they are contacts. But go ahead.
Yeah, and Janelle would call them prospects or prospective clients. And you know, one of the things we've found is that some of them are just lookers, and the lookers will become buyers or sellers. So, you know, I have over
or refer business to us.
We have over 3,000 people on the toolkit right now. Okay, and that means every day you start the day, you open up our desktop for Agent Achieve. We know who's been looking, who's interested in a house. I mean, we start the day already with a bunch of phone calls to follow up with of people who are interacting on the toolkit. Now, the hot leads, we want to get them either out to houses to look at them or get them a valuation of their property. And, you know, things like zestimates actually have helped with the dialogue there, because they always want to find out, okay, is that zestimate correct? And, you know, this estimate is a kind of at least a good starting point, but it's always good to have a professional come in there and give the proper valuation. So it does get our foot in the door that way. But going back to how we manage these contacts, it's really a little bit of drip. Some of it is automatic. Some of it is actually manual, depending on, you know, where we kind of rate this buyer and how hot they are. What I'd say a hot buyer, we keep them very close, and we try to get to them quickly because we already know, and depending on their motivations, let's say they have a baby coming soon, or they've relocated and they're ready to buy. I mean, I'm actually not the best at screening. I think Janelle, I always put her in the forefront on the screening, and there's something about women's intuition when it comes to screening and scrubbing the prospect that she has. That's just definitely.
So a big piece of knowing what to do with each person that you're talking to is getting as much information from them as possible and just asking them questions and letting them talk. And I mean, it's simple as just saying, how can I help you? And then all of a sudden you've just had, you know, a 20-minute conversation, and you can see, oh, this person really is motivated, or this person's not so motivated. So each person we handle differently. Like Eric was saying, the motivated person, you say, okay, well, let's meet them right away. The other person, you just say, okay, when you're ready, let's meet. And so you have to approach each person unique. It's not, you know, in our business, if you use a cookie cutter approach, you're never going to get very far because it'll turn a lot of people off. So
what you're saying is you're able to really drill down into what makes a person tick, both needs-wise, personal-wise, and just people-wise, just able to really categorize them as to where they're at in the journey of the real estate with you. Secondly, to really individualize the next steps, the processes, the follow-ups that have to take place in order to convert them into what I'm seeing in your reviews here is beyond a client for life. You're making friends with these people. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm reading your reviews live on this webinar, And I'm probably, we don't consider ourselves clients. We consider ourselves, Eric and Janelle's friends. Let me ask you this. Do these reviews play a role do you think they play a role in other people who have never called or met with you, in those people making a decision to call you based on these reviews?
Absolutely. These reviews are huge. People, when they call, and sometimes I call, sometimes whoever calls, especially when I call, they'll say, Janelle, they feel like they already know me. They're comfortable. They're happy. They come in and they meet us, and they feel, a testimonial is huge. Anytime someone can say something, Eric and I can brag, but when people are actually saying it online and they're reading it, they feel very comfortable.
And,
so they're willing to go out of their way to come and meet you for a consultation or come meet you to see, if this is true, what they're reading. And this is a big piece of our conversion rate is having these reviews online, and anyone that has an account is crazy not to ask their clients to write a review if they don't voluntarily do it.
Yeah, this is something that we, Zillow has been providing for a couple of years now. There's over, I think, 170,000 individual reviews. But I have always said, and I know you'll agree, both of you, you just did, that people make buying and selling decisions based on what other people say about them, even if they don't know this person. I don't know who JITH is or Greg Kof, but the point is, I will make a buying and selling decision based on what this person said, even though I don't know them. I'll probably never know them. I'll never meet them. But the fact that they're talking about you and selling you and not you selling you, I will make a buying decision right now, or at least a contact decision to say, the fact that you did this and the fact that we're not the easiest, here's what it says, we're not the easiest clients. My husband and I were not the easiest clients and made Eric and Janelle show us numerous properties before we made a decision. They were always patient, provided us with honest options based on their experience. It was so helpful to have both a woman and a man's perspective during the process, which I want to talk about in a minute. But the point is, I would make a decision to pick up the phone and contact you. In fact, Eric, I did when I first contacted you folks, and it was because of these reviews. It wasn't because of your production, and it wasn't because you were even on the agent advisory board. It's because I saw your reviews, and I went, holy cow, I want to talk to these people and see how they're making these other customers so happy, and is it really working for you? And, it's clearly a yes. But here's the other thing I've noticed. In looking at, you talked early about having balance, and I've talked to numerous producers. We interviewed somebody from Texas. She's doing $1 million to $2 million a month, average sales price $150,000, and her key to her balance in life, and I think this is important because you can't work 24/7. You have to have people, teams, response time's important. Your follow-up is great. You have to have that CRM. You're using Agent Achieve, but you also have to have date night. There's got to be Eric and Janelle time. There's got to be the daughter time. One of the things I heard from one of our previous top producers out of Texas was she doesn't start her business day till 1 p.m. ever. She has balance in her personal life as when she wakes up, has her coffee, watches TV, gets her kid to school, spends time at home, reads books, watches TV, whatever she does. Then her day starts at 1. How do you folks be so productive in real estate, make so many clients so happy, 41 reviews, 10 listings in the hopper, took a listing 10 minutes before this webinar? Where do you find balance and how?
That's a great question. So our daughter was the motivation to find balance in our life. She's 6 years old now, and we wanted to have time with her. And before she was born, we worked 24/7, which I think most realtors do. And so we decided to come up with a dialogue and set the client's expectations that we work, like we were saying earlier, we work and then we play, and then this way we have balance, and this way we're happy and we represent you well because we're excited about what we do. We're passionate, right? We're not burned out. And so if people understand you're not available all the time because you don't want to be burned out, but there's someone always available, and so your listing or you as a buyer are always going to be represented at all times. That's huge. Is just being very upfront with your client about how you work. And so we work business hours primarily is what we let people know. Look, we work business hours. Evenings and weekends, one of us is usually available. We juggle a little bit, but physically one of us is available. Not you'll never get two of us together on a weekend because one of us will be with our daughter. And then in the evenings we're always available, email and phone, and so that's how we balance it. And also because of our team, we're able to have immediate phone calls go to our assistants on hours where we're not working, and so everyone is taken care of. And as long as people are taken care of, and they know someone's always looking out for them, they're going to be very happy, like these people that have reviewed us.
Sure. And it sounds like people want to feel important, but more than that, they need to feel that they are sincerely important. And I can tell you, just from watching your production and kind of, doing my own research on the internet about you, and I had some time to talk with Eric a couple weeks ago and kind of get to know him over the phone a little better. You folks are very sincere and transparent about your relationship with people. You obviously have a passion for the business. You're not in it just for the money. Getting a check is nice, but I pick up even on this call that you are very sincerely passionate about handing somebody their keys to their new home and seeing them light up for the first time, of whether it's a first-time home ownership or it's the last box I'm going to buy because I'm retiring. You truly get a sincere reward and joy out of seeing other people be happy. I mean, it's evident in your reviews.
Well, I think
thank you, Brad. That's really nice.
I think it's one of the greatest joys of the job is to be able to actually do that, to actually make help someone who's making a huge decision, and really it's not just a huge financial decision. It's a life-changing decision. It's going to be where their kids grow up, where their kids make their friends. I mean, it really impacts every part of their life, and to be able to actually represent these people, we feel very fortunate to be chosen as the ones to do that, and so we take it very to us it's I think we feel honored.
Well, they say there's only five big moments in life, and number one is when you turn 16 and you go to get that license, and the second one is, of course, graduation. The third event is, come on, let's face it, getting married is a pretty big deal. The fourth one is having a baby, and while the guy stands aside, it's still a pretty eventful time for men and women having a baby. But the last and final big event in a lifetime is buying a home. And, you get 5 opportunities to have an impression, make an impression, a memorable experience. And I got to say, none of those events, all 5 of them, none of them compare to the cost and emotion and time that's involved in the home buying process. And you folks have obviously capitalized on making that not such a customer service experience, but a customer overall experience. And I think that, this is again where I think these reviews, just reading through, I got another screen open up that people can't see, that I've literally gone and read nearly all 41 of your reviews. And I'll tell you folks, if you really want to know about somebody, there's 2 places you can go. One is Zillow, and read reviews, see what other people say about them. And the other one is, I know people are going to laugh when I say this, but Facebook. You want to know about your past clients? Folks, people share stuff that's personal, private. Some people share stuff they shouldn't share on Facebook. But if you want to know about people share a lot of information on Facebook. And I see you folks are using your it looks like your personal profile page, but you've got it listed as facebook.com Silicon Valley Homes. Now, is this a personal page or is this a business or fan page?
Eventually, Facebook might kick this one out because it does. Really, you're supposed to run a business page off your personal page, but because of our team dynamics, we felt to just kind of put a page together. And this is one of those things where this page could eventually get censored by Facebook.
Well, are you guys selling on here? Or are you using it for
you know, on the whole, social network-wise, I haven't utilized it to its fullest. In fact, I've just been I would say, just been utilizing it very lightly so far, but trying to kind of get a pulse on it. The one thing I have focused on more is something that I've noticed, just because we are in the land of Apple and Google, and most of the buyers tend to be engineers. They need a lot of information to make their decisions, and recommendation engines, things like Zillow and Yelp, and other types of areas where people can actually check your reputation out online. That's why they're starting really a new category called online reputation. Is people want to see you in different places. They want to be able to go through the web, check you out, and if they're just looking in one place, they don't really feel comfortable. At least the engineers in this valley, they want to check you out in multiple sites, so Facebook or Yelp and Zillow. So someone looking for a home is going to go to Zillow first. Then they might double check you in some other sites just to make sure you're kosher. And you know, that really is going to be the future, because as people start to use their phones more mobilely and use these recommendations more often, especially the younger generation, it is going to be really part of your whole presence. And
Sure.
I think, you know, for us, we've, over the last 6 months, really focused on getting our past clients to review us. We're pushing a lot more, because to me, a review is worth $1,000 to me, each review. It really is.
Sure.
Because the amount of, you know, you start adding these reviews up, what they can bring you in potential business is enormous.
Right.
And this is one thing that agents need to be aware of, that, like Eric's saying, you need to market everywhere. So sometimes people choose me from Zillow, and they don't even remember. Sometimes they remember they chose me from Zillow, but they said, "Well, I saw you everywhere." I you know, it wasn't just one place that they saw me. They saw me a lot of places, and that's what made them feel comfortable. So, you know, you really want to be as many places as you can.
Sure, and while I agree, I know that you can't be everything to everybody, but I do know that Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Zillow, each of them has their own culture, and so you wouldn't necessarily do the same thing you would do on Facebook, on Twitter, and I see a lot of agents, Janelle, make that mistake of, well, I'll just do this on, you know, Twitter, and I'll put that on Flickr and YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's like, no, each one has their own unique environment, and you want to, I think you need to understand the environment and the culture before you sit down and create a strategy. And you have to have a strategy for each of those types of sites in order to be successful. You folks obviously are doing it on both. And that's the thing that's also hard, is you don't want to spend so much time online and on social media that you take yourself off of the offline opportunities, which are out, you know, with contacts, appointments, and closings.
Right.
Here's a great question that just came in from actually, there's a lot of great questions, but we're covering a lot of really great stuff on conversion and tips. Let me ask you this. So obviously, you're making some money in selling real estate, and though that may not be the number one passion, we all have to eat and pay bills. What percentage are you putting back into marketing? I mean, do you do it by a percentage, or do you calculate your return on investment, you know, your ROI based on a certain dollar volume, or like, how does that work?
I mean, we spend roughly between 10 and 15% on advertising, and that goes with online advertising, websites.
Is that of your overall income? I mean, so if you made $1 million this year, pre-tax net, you'd spend 10 to 15% of that back into marketing.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
okay.
at least.
I would say, and then you have administrative would add another roughly 10%. So we're at 25% with that end of it. But I'll tell you, it has one of these things that, you know, I learned from Janelle's father a long time ago. You have to spend money to make money, and I think it's one of the things that holds many realtors back, is that in order to, you know, you have to believe in yourself, but you also have to understand, look, you're not going to, life is short, and then you die. So if you really grow your business and you want to have success in real estate, you do have to actually build some strategies and actually implement them. And if you have a little money at first, maybe even start with a higher percentage of what you're making to build your marketing presence. Because without an online and local presence, you can't grow your business.
So, Brad, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our experience spending money online advertising. Years ago, Eric started spending money, and I thought he was crazy. I would get the bills and the credit cards, and I just thought he was insane because it was so much. It was a higher percentage than 15% at that time of our income, and he would just start spending money everywhere. And then finally, when we found Zillow, okay, now we know where to spend most of our money. This is working, and it works. And so we're so grateful that we had the opportunity when Zillow was growing to lock up some really incredible zip codes so people could see us where we wanted to be present.
But one of the things, and I've always believed, and I think Zillow does the same thing, is really that, I believe that there has to be, we only lock up 25% of each of the zip codes that we want. We want people to have choices. We think consumers always should have choices. And I think a lot of the sites out there who believe that you should just own a zip code, it doesn't make sense to me. I think all consumers have choices. I think Zillow understands that. Really, for the experience, a great consumer experience, they should be able to be making the choice of who they're gonna pick as an agent. And if they only have one agent to choose from, it really, I think, lessens the whole experience. Especially if this agent may not be a good fit for them. And I think, I have spent a lot of money over the years, but I always track where I spend that money. And I've had some success with what you would call online contact aggregators, we'll call them now, but what we call online lead aggregators. And, many of them, I think, don't get that. They don't understand that really, if you focus on the consumer, the agent will, in the long run, will be rewarded from it. And sure. I think that's one thing Zillow gets, and they get it well. And that's probably, I think, one of the things that makes you guys so successful is that you understand the consumer comes first.
Sure. And while we are a very consumer-centric site, I will agree with that. I think it's taken some time for the real estate industry to understand that, even including our national commercial that just went live on HGTV and some of the other family channel and whatnot, at the very end it shows the little contact agent button. So we are very much an adversary and an ally to the real estate industry professional, whereas I think for a while people thought that we were going to become the next real estate company. But, I always say this, and I'm going to say it today, Zillow will never sell a house any more than WebMD.com will perform a surgery. I mean, the doctors love WebMD because they get calls and appointments based on people starting at WebMD but needing a local expert when it comes down to whatever it is they're really needing. And Zillow is the same way. People will start their search on Zillow. They'll get a zestimate. They'll look up an agent, but they're still going to contact you, the local expert, when it comes down to, hey, I'm selling my house in Sunnyvale. Zillow says, but I really need you to come out and tell me what's my home worth, because Zillow can't see my new granite countertops. They can't see the view I've got of the bay from the 31st floor. I mean, those are the things that you as a pro, and only you as a pro, can come out and help the consumer. While we're there, let's ask this, because here's a great one. How do you handle that call? So I'm on here, I'm looking at a house, I pull it up, and it's not, there's two things that I want to address today, because these I think are so important. So I pull up a house on Zillow, I'm checking it out, I'm like, oh, here's one. Hey, honey, come here, look at this house. This is great. And look, we're going to get a good deal, because the zestimate in Zillow says it's $483,000, and honey, it's on sale for $426,800. And they pick up the phone and they call you. High or low, dead on or dead off, how do you folks handle calls about our zestimate?
Well, I mean, that is a great question, and it can be a tough one for some people, because some people take things, you know, as black or white. And
yes.
I tried to explain to them, you know, really, anytime you give a valuation on a home, it's always a price range. And the ultimate, you know, price is going to be supply and demand, and what a buyer's willing to pay and a seller's willing to let it go for. And that's,
you nailed it.
Really, yeah, and that's the most important thing. And you know, we'll give them guidance on the market, on the activity, what's happening. So, you know, let's say this estimate is low. We explain to them that, look, this is a marketplace where we're on very low inventory. This is in the affordable housing arena, something in that 480 range or 426. There's going to be multiple offers on that, and so we have to prepare them for the multiple offers. So this is very typical right now in the Valley. Most homes sell in 10 days, and they sell with multiple offers. And really, the market decides where the value is. And then there's different marketing strategies for different areas. You know, places like Palo Alto, which is kind of like ground zero for the Valley. Yeah. And prices have just gone through the roof. You know, to be competitive, you have to come in there with zero contingencies, and a lot of times mostly cash or all cash. So it really, you know, in order to be able to even be competitive there, you have to really educate your client, and sometimes they may lose out on the first house to really understand it. Because one thing we have always done and we believe in is, look, we'll give our clients guidance, and we're going to represent them. But when it comes to the price, there's ultimate decision makers. We're just going to give them guidance on what we feel the range is. But we don't want anyone to come in there and have buyer's remorse.
So the estimate is great in the sense that sometimes it allows a nice conversation and to establish credibility, like you're saying, like WebMD. It makes us more valuable. Look at Zillow's there. It gives us great information, but you really need a professional opinion, a market analysis from us that's more detailed, that will take out the ones that might throw it off. And also, you know, take into consideration the upgrades, the location. You know, you need someone to actually really evaluate it and show you the differences and get a really good number. And so, it makes us more valuable, which is
so
good.
Would it be safe to say, Janelle, I mean, because I say this, and you know, I take your opinion and advice very much to heart, and not just because I like you to, but you're on our advisory board. So I'm going to ask you live for some advice right now. I tell people live on stage when I'm traveling around at NAR, CAR, Agent Reboot, Inman News, it doesn't matter. I stand on the stage and I tell crowds, masses, that you know what? The Zillow Zestimate is an easy and perfect opportunity to prove that you are the local expert that they should be working with as their realtor. Am I okay in saying that?
I think you're
beautiful.
Spot on. And by the way, getting to spend an hour with Stan Humphreys and seeing how he modeled the Zestimate, my God, my brain was spinning. But the one thing, you know, to be able to actually put a valuation on every home in America is in an amazing feat. But even he'll be the first to tell you, you know, the tolerance rate and you know, of 10 to 15%.
Right.
And you know, and that's the whole point. It's there to give at least a number where you can start with, and some of those can be dead on, some can be too high, and some can be too low. But the bottom line is it at least someone has actually been able to do that, which is amazing.
And the beauty is they see our reviews on Zillow, they see us, and they already know that we're credible, otherwise we wouldn't be there. And so they're asking us for more information. They're saying, and they understand that it's not perfect. And so, yeah, it allows us a great opportunity to get our foot in the door and build credibility.
Here's the other thing I have found, and I know this is kind of out there, but I look at it this way. A Zestimate is Zillow's Zestimate. If we were called Gillow, it would kind of be, you know, just whatever it is. But isn't a listing price just kind of in the same category as a guesstimation of the value of a home? In fact, isn't an appraisal right up there with the zestimate and the listing price? Because isn't the true value of any home in this country what a buyer is willing to pay and does pay for it? That's what predicts and determines the actual value of a piece of property, of real estate in this country. I don't care if it appraises at $650, if it's a zestimate of $527, and like Fairhaven Drive, you've got listed here for $619, which I hope somebody's listening would write an offer on this today for you folks, because, you know, let's get this stuff
we're
sold.
taking offers on it tomorrow, and we'll have more than one.
My point is this. If I say, you know what, Eric, this is the home of my dreams, I have to have it, I got $750,000 cash in my hand, well, it's in a suitcase, I'm willing to pay $750,000 to you cash right now, I want this home. Isn't the market value of that property $750,000 because that's what I'm willing to pay?
Absolutely. And
there
also, whatever the seller is willing to let it go for, maybe the seller's expectation is $775. so you might have to pay a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're right. But also if someone's willing to pay $775, then it's even more than that, right?
Right. So I think people should not focus so much on the dollar sign and dollar amount as much as they should focus on people skills, negotiation, and really drilling down to, is this the home I want to own or I want to sell? And focus on what it takes, because, I mean, I think most sellers want to get the home sold for the most value they can with the least amount of stress possible. I think the home buyer wants to find the home of their dreams, buy it with the least amount of stress as possible, with the best payment that is affordable with their lifestyle and living.
That's true. And I think the thing is a lot of people, consumers, and just the general public believe that the market is inefficient, but the market is very efficient in real estate, at least where we are in the Silicon Valley. And, you know, with that efficiency, doesn't matter what people like. People will get so look at a list price and they just believe, well, it can only go 10% over this list price, or it's going to go under this, or they're crazy. But the thing is the value when it's sold is the value, and it doesn't.
Supply and demand. Supply and demand.
Totally.
And that's always one of your first conversations with buyers and sellers. Look at it, supply and demand. People, sometimes it takes them a long time to get it, but again, by our presence, back to Zillow, our presence on Zillow, when we tell people, look at, this is what we feel the value is and this is why, they look at us and they feel comfortable because they know we're doing business and we know what we're doing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so successful.
So your success breeds more success, and it's kind of like nobody wants to be the first one on the dance floor, but when you see 20, 30, 40 other couples on the dance floor, it's easy to jump on in because there's a synergy. I got time for one more question, and this is a really good question from Carmen Webb, and thank you, Carmen, for asking. Carmen says, my husband and I, in our first year of real estate, we're still working full-time jobs for now, in parentheses. What is the most important successful tip you could give for converting those Zillow contacts or people from any source for that matter? What is the best tip you could give that helps convert any of those contacts you get from Zillow into clients?
I think the most important tip you can give is this. Don't focus on a paycheck, focus on that client and focus on their needs. And if you focus on their needs and you do what's best for them, success will follow. And I think the thing is people believe success will make you happy, but happiness will make you successful. And the thing is that as long as you have a positive attitude and you focus on that client and exactly what they want and give them the guidance and representation they deserve, really guide them and, you know, make sure to have, and what Janelle and I, we have in, there is this yin-yang thing going on with Janelle and I, and sometimes there'll be hard discussions to be made with clients because the one thing we found is, look, always tell them, even if you have to be brutally honest, you got to let them know what the market is and how it's going to be, and you got to let people know.
Ultimately, you tell them. Sometimes you have to tell someone what they don't want to hear. And that's hard to tell them. And I'll tell someone that, look, this is not an easy conversation to have, but it wouldn't be fair as a realtor not to tell you this. And but stepping back to the key point is you get information about the client, as much information about the client as possible, and you do what's best for them, and then everything works out perfect. I mean,
right.
it just falls into place. All you have to do is know your client, do what's best for your client, and the business will come, and it'll be fruitful.
Well, let's just do a quick recap because we're right at the 11 o'clock hour, and you know, I'm just going to be real honest. There's a lot of people who have lots of questions. Some of them came in, it's the same question, asked 10 different ways. We did cover a lot of them, you know, people asking what CRM managed stuff. So I just want to go back over what, for those joining us later who are listening to this, the overview I got out of this is, number one, it is a team, you know, and team is an acronym, stands for Together Everyone Achieves More, but it's more than just a team. It's the people. It's always been about people, and it's the people you have on your team that will make or break that team. That's why some teams win world championships, like my Giants yesterday. I thought I'd throw that in there. That was a perfect time for a plug for them. Sorry, I had to take advantage of that. The second thing is response time. Whether it was 20 years ago or today, response time is still an important component, but the follow-up is key. And I've always said, if you don't have contacts, then you don't have any appointments. And if you don't have any appointments, you're not closing any sales. The way you follow up effectively and the way you respond quickly is by having a good team, good people, but a good CRM. We didn't really get to touch on that a lot today, but you guys said you're using Agent Achieve. It's a great company, great product, and I know there's a lot to choose from, and people need to do their due diligence, because without a good CRM and the right people assisting in that team and running that CRM, there is no way you can be successful. I know for a fact that if you can't remember what you had for breakfast or lunch 2 weeks ago on Thursday, there is no way you're going to remember who you're supposed to call 3 weeks from Friday at 2 o'clock who mentioned they're thinking about selling. It's just not humanly possible. You've got to have a CRM. And then the last thing I heard you say, beyond making friends with your clients and beyond helping them and getting them their dream, is you educate. And folks, man, if that's the one tip you get out of today, I don't care if you're calling about a zestimate. I don't care if they're calling about who owns this house across the street and how come this or why that, or who should I buy this or what should I do. You have to be able to know your market, know your product, know the industry, know what you're doing enough to educate other people. And that's what consumers are looking for. That's why crowdsourcing and the internet is so powerful, as people know at the touch of a keyboard and a screen, they can gather information. Then they can filter that information, decide what's accurate, what's true, what they like, what they don't like. But then it still boils down to people. People want to be educated by other people. That's why we have mentors and heroes. And folks, I got to tell you, you're looking at a couple and listening to a couple of my heroes. I would say that Janelle and Eric, you guys are high up on the ladder as far as people I respect. I admire you. I appreciate what you do, because I'm very passionate about this industry and have been since 1986. And the fact that you have values and morals on family, you know, that you've shared openly and transparently and honestly how you're doing what you're doing so well, you've just earned that much more of my gratitude, appreciation, and respect. And so I wanted to say thank you for taking time to do this today, number one. And number two, for helping the community, for helping the industry, and for giving back what you do, because it's obvious you folks care, and you have a lot of passion in what you do. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Well, we can't thank you enough, and I will honestly tell you, and whoever is online hears this, that Zillow has helped us grow our business, but also our systems as well. But without Zillow, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So we appreciate you and your team. And we're going to the NAR convention. We look forward to meeting you all there in person. Also, I'd like anyone who listens to this, if they have questions, to go ahead and email us. Our contact information is everywhere. Email us or call Eric or I, and we'll be happy to answer a question for you because, you know, we all are here together to work and grow, and we believe in teamwork. It's not just our team. We work as a team with all the agents around us, and that, you know, without the other agents at Coldwell Banker or any other company, we can't get things done, right?
Right.
So,
no, we need each other. Now, are you folks going to be at the NAR convention in Orlando?
We are.
And Eric will be in the booth one day.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I got to work the Zillow booth for an hour or two, which is going to be great.
Well, I am going to be there, and what I would love to do, folks, number one is I'd love to invite you back because I think you share a wealth of information that's helpful, not to just, you know, folks that are at Zillow Academy, but I mean the industry as a whole. So maybe if I can catch you aside, I'm going to have a couple of cameramen. I'd love to do a 1 or 2 minute segment video and meet with you guys in NAR, and then again have you back here at Zillow Academy to do this again if you're open to that.
Absolutely. We really appreciated the opportunity, and we look forward to it.
Yeah, we'd be thrilled. Thank you.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you both in Orlando. Maybe we can go to the Realtors Night Out or head out to Universal and take in a ride or something.
Excellent.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks.